Hello everyone, it's your boy here, back with another video of Wizardry variants Daphne, and today we're going to be going over the Ancient Mausoleum, how it works, and why it's integral for everyone to venture out into the depths of the dungeon and retrieve its amazing rewards. There are two maps for this dungeon, one of them for the guide floor and the other for the rest of the floors. We'll be focusing on the second one as the guidance map serves no purpose for us outside of the guidance floor. With that, here are the maps of the two different floors, and let's jump right into the video. First things first, all the enemies in the Mausoleum are undead, so weapons with Bane of Undead, and spells like Badios and Marin are going to be integral for clearing this dungeon. After prepping for and entering the dungeon, you're going to be able to do two things before actually exploring the dungeon. The first thing you can do is talk to and hire the guide for a hefty price of 100 gems. They can be free or premium, so it doesn't necessarily matter what kind of gems you use. Once hired, he will serve as a unit that will take damage for you and also attacks for you on his own. You are not able to control him like you are for the rest of your team, but he can be useful for your team if it doesn't have the best defensive options. He also only stays in your party when you're at the Mausoleum, and you won't have to rehire him until he dies in your party. The second thing you can do is go to the God of Death altar and gain a buff that will allow you to open 3 doors for loot instead of just 1. This can be acquired for another hefty price of 100 gems and an influx of enemy spawns, meaning you'll get more rewards, but you'll have to fight off more enemies. The gems needed for this buff can also be either free or premium gems, so you don't have to worry about what gems to use for this either. This buff lasts for 1 hour and will not go away when you leave the Mausoleum, although the timer does continue to go down even outside of the dungeon, making you want to make most out of your time with the buff. When it comes to actually exploring the dungeon, you're going to be faced with 3 fortitude draining traps when you enter. There is no way to decrease how many there are, so unfortunately you're just going to have to suck up the fortitude drain. This is not a big deal unless you're entering the dungeon with little to no defensive options and little to no ways to heal, which is why I recommend every character to hold the highest tier of potions you can hold and have an extremely well off priest. Not only are priests amazing healers and buffers for your team, but they have the ability to wipe out entire rows of undead with the spell Marin, making priests the undisputed MVPs of the Mausoleum. Speaking of buffs, you're going to want to make sure your priest has the spell Knapic if you don't have any decent resistance stats on any of your characters. This is because the bosses of the Mausoleum has a move that has a low chance to insta-kill you, being mainly calculated by your resistance stats. That's right, there's more than one boss in this dungeon, and they are not afraid to banish you to the Shadow Realm with their Orb of Deatomization when given the chance. This spell and a decent resistance stat might save your tank from going from full health to no health. With all of this in mind, why would you ever want to go to this dungeon? Well, not only will you be getting a decent amount of XP from all of the enemies you'll be fighting, but you'll also be able to open up to 3 doors that will give you a chance at obtaining remains to summon adventurers with. Each floor has a certain amount of remains you can grab, and the more remains you obtain, the more likely you are to obtain junk instead of the remains in the chest. This is because the closer you are to reaching the maximum limit of remains you can obtain, the more likely you are to get junk in replacement of the duplicate remains you would have gotten. That being said, the only floor that actively resets so you can obtain more free summons is the Crucible Mausoleum floor. This Mausoleum resets once every 2 weeks on Sunday at 10 AM EST, meaning you should grind out the Crucible dungeon first, then grind out all of the rest of the floors, and then come back and make sure to check every other Sunday to cash in on those free summons. That being said, you can farm the Mausoleum without spending any gems, and if anything, you're just going to make it easier on yourself to farm the dungeon if you do use gems. But of course, this decision is obviously completely up to you. And that's really about it. I hope this helped everyone get a better understanding of what the Mausoleum is, how exactly it works, and what you'll need to do for the bare minimum to complete the dungeon. If it did any of that, don't be afraid to leave a like and sub for more Wizardry content, and I'll see you all in the next video.